to Milton, Delaware for the beer that started the continual hopping cycle trend. It's 90-minute IPA, a beer that was invented way back in the late 90s because of a cooking show. That's when Dogfish head brewery owner Sam Calagione was watching this show on TV, and he says that he had this spark of how to pull off an incredibly hoppy IPA without the overwhelming bitterness. He says the chef was talking about making a soup, and he said that he liked to add pinches of crushed peppercorn the entire time during the cooking process while the soup simmered, because he found that by adding little increments of pepper over an extended period of time, the flavor would come forward with more complexity and subtlety than if he had dumped the pepper all in at once. So Sam wanted to try the same exact thing with, you guessed it, beer, more notably the IPA. And this is kind of funny. How did he accomplish this method of continually hopping at first? Well, he bought a thrift store electric football game, one of those old school vibrating football games, if you remember, and if it was rigged at just the right angle over the brew kettle and covered with hops instead of small dancing football players, the vibrating playing field would perfectly shake and shimmy the hops cascading down into the boiling wort at a consistent rate. And that was the birth of continually hopping. And what a beer this was, coming into us at 9% ABV. Esquire magazine actually called 90-minute IPA perhaps the best IPA in America. An Imperial IPA best savored from a snifter. 90-minute has a great malt backbone that stands up to the extreme hopping rate. So this was the precursor to the 60-minute IPA, and then subsequently, of course, the heavy hitter, the 120-minute IPA, and kind of the mid-level heavy hitter, the 75-minute IPA, which I'm not sure if they're still brewing that anymore. So this is 9.0 ABV, 90 IBUs. It's released year-round, and it was actually first released in 2001. So the idea came out in the late 90s, but it was mass released in the early 2000s. As far as food pairings go, they recommend pork chops, beef, grilled fish, focaccia, escargot, among other things, and it pairs well with Stilton cheese. Back in my review posted on October 1st, 2012, way back in the day, I noted that the golden color was very vibrant, along with the bubbly appearance. Aroma-wise, I thought it was very resiny and citrusy, and in comparing this with Pliny the Elder, which I tended to do during that review many, many times. I think I had just reviewed Pliny the Elder probably a couple months before that, because I remember taking a trip to California and getting a bottle of it. I said that I found that it had a less boozy taste than Pliny, with some West Coast aspects, and it was a bit of a refined taste, and I ended up giving it a 9 out of 10. 90-minute IPA. Again, a different label than the last time I reviewed this beer back in 2012. Much, much different. Of course, they went through a label re-up, probably 2020, maybe 2019, some odd. But yeah, pretty hard to believe that this beer is the first of the continually hopped beers and not the 60-minute IPA, which I had always thought, it would just make sense that the regular IPA would be the first continually hopped one. But no, the double IPA was, so kind of strange how that works. So there is a little dissertation here on the front saying, our continually hopped Imperial IPA, whose powerful malt backbone stands up to the extreme hopping rate for a pungent, not crushing, hop flavor. So let's see if this has that West Coast effect that I reviewed about in 2012, which is kind of weird because I don't think very many Dogfish Head beers I said that it had a West Coast effect, and I'm kind of surprised that I said that about this beer. I've had it, I'm sure, a few times afterwards. It's one of the most easily accessible of the style. As we can see, that golden pour, just how I remembered it, at least from watching the video. Pretty good head retention, just kind of a thin film of head. Pretty good lacing on the sides, as you can see. Aroma-wise, very malty. It's like a very malt-forward IPA, double IPA. Sugary harshness, not really getting much resinous, piney notes. I believe I reported that it did. I don't know if I did about the aroma, but this definitely not quite getting that resinous kind of note, taste-wise. A little more on the taste. So I'm getting a little bit more of the citrusy grapefruitiness on the taste, but definitely getting that sugary malt backbone too. Yeah, it's a good tasting beer. It's not that, it's a little heavy, I would say. It's chewy, heavy, definitely a lot going on in the body. However, I'm getting a maltiness to it. It's good. It's just not West Coasty. I don't know what the heck I was thinking of in that review. Definitely busy, though. This definitely has a... It says not crushing. I think it might not be a crushing hop flavor, but it's a crushing flavor, if that means anything. It's definitely a heavy hitter, and it tastes every bit of that 9% alcohol by volume kind of all-encompassing feel to it. Not quite as good as I remembered it from that review. So I'm going to go ahead and give a 90-minute IPA from Dogfish Head. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's a decent double IPA. Definitely not on that higher echelon. Definitely not a West Coasty kind of taste, which is why I wanted to kind of do this review again. I would have done it anyway, but why I was curious of doing this review again is because I watched that video, which I made 9 years ago, and I said, what was I saying? I didn't understand. And to kind of pit this against Pliny the Elder, now I haven't had Pliny the Elder since probably the time I reviewed this, so I thought I was very presumptuous to put this up against that league, and it's not quite that level to me. I know people love this. I know it's got like world-class ratings everywhere, but I've never gotten to that point with the 90 minutes, but it's decent. It's decent enough. So 7.5 out of 10 for Dogfish Head 90-minute Imperial IPA.